I'm a youth worker in Melbourne. How does the panel think we should respond to the increasing demand for mental health support for young people as a result of COVID-19?
We have a really big problem in society where we look at mental health in silos, and this has been a really big topic of the Commission. Mental health has come up over and over and over again, and we've been across the country talking to young people in cities, in regions, in rural towns, and it keeps coming up. And we can't just look at it in this really isolated way, because there are so many factors that come into it. Obviously, with COVID-19, we can expect that there's going to be an increase, a spike in mental health issues. But all of these other things come into it. When you're financially insecure, when you're worried about if you're going to have a job the next week, when you're worried about if your Centrelink's going to be cut off, which happens all the time for young people, all of these things kind of come together. And I think that, you know, for the government, I know they made an announcement, I think it was last week, which was really positive, investing in mental health, but we can't do that alone. We need to look at all of the factors that are coming into play here. Social media is another one, a huge one that came up from particularly a lot of school age students and teachers. So I think that, you know, my message on mental health here is, you know, we can't just look at it alone. We need to look at the broader picture.
And zooming out and seeing those connections is so important. And when we look at an unemployment rate at 13.8%, of course that scarcity of work is going to be terrifying on a monetary level, but also in terms of identity. And when we're talking to recent graduates who are worried about where they're going to go and what kind of work they're going to pursue, well, that goes across the spectrum of society. People who are lucky enough to go to university and people who aren't, but everyone's looking for an identity. And we're talking about young people here. So these are critical times in your life, 18 to 25, when you're looking to kind of find your mission in the world. And again, perhaps this could be a policy issue where we engage young people in a conversation about what does a brighter future look like? How can we give young people a sense of identity and a sense of ownership over what right now is a bleak future, but could be flipped into an opportunity of giving them the driver's seat again.
I think another thing as well is that, you know, people, you know, we shouldn't always externalise these problems and kind of say it's the problem of government or someone's going to do something. I think in many of these cases when it has to do with mental illness in your local community or in your local networks, a lot of it's just got to do with us, you know, like what can we do to just be kinder to people, be a little bit more generous to people. And, you know, this is a tough time. I think we've all got to chip in and do our part.
Daniel Wood, the sample of questions that you've seen tonight is small, but I mean, we've read and watched hundreds of them come in from genuinely very distressed young people over the last few days. Do you find it shocking, the number of young Australians that now have very genuine fears about their future?
I do. I think it's profoundly shocking. I mean, you know, I've felt, you know, pretty dismayed every day since this really hit, you know, thinking about what this means for those people, thinking what it means for business. You know, this has been absolutely devastating, this crisis. You know, what I would say to those young people is we do know from past economic downturns that things do get better. I understand it's hard now. You know, it looks like a pretty devastating outlook, but things will improve. So hang in there. You know, use the time to build capital, you know, go out, get a new skill, talk to people, you know, stay positive and realise that, you know, we will come out on the other side and there will be opportunities available again.